October 27th. For many, it is just another day. But for the people of Kashmir, this date is etched in sorrow. In 1947, Kashmir was plunged into conflict by the intrusion of Indian forces. This day marks the beginning of a long struggle for self-determination. It is a day to remember the sacrifices made and the spirit of resistance. A reminder to the world of the unresolved Kashmir conflict, a call for justice, and a future where Kashmiris can determine their own destiny.
To understand October 27th, we must journey back to the events that set the stage for this day. The partition of British India in 1947 ended colonial rule but sowed discord between India and Pakistan. Jammu and Kashmir, with a Muslim population and a Hindu Maharaja, became a point of contention. The Maharaja initially opted for independence. Tribal forces from Pakistan entered, prompting him to seek India's help. On October 26, 1947, the Maharaja signed the Instrument of Accession, ceding Kashmir to India. This act led to the Indian Army's entry into Kashmir on October 27th, marking the beginning of a conflict that continues to this day.
The arrival of Indian troops in Srinagar, the summer capital of Kashmir, on October 27, 1947, shattered the peace and tranquility of the valley. What began as a conflict between India and Pakistan soon morphed into a struggle for self-determination for the Kashmiri people, who found themselves caught in the crossfire of a larger geopolitical game. The Indian government claimed its intervention was necessary to repel the tribal invaders and protect the will of the Kashmiri people, as expressed through the Instrument of Accession. Pakistan, however, contested the validity of the accession, arguing that it was signed under duress and did not reflect the true aspirations of the Kashmiri people. The entry of Indian troops triggered a full-fledged war between India and Pakistan, the first of 3 wars the two countries would fight over Kashmir. The war ended in 1949 with the Line of Control, or LOC, dividing Kashmir between India and Pakistan, a de facto border that remains a source of tension and conflict to this day.
For Kashmiris on both sides of the LOC and those living in diaspora, October 27th is observed as Black Day, a day of mourning and remembrance. It is a day to remember the sacrifices of those who lost their lives fighting for Kashmir's freedom, to acknowledge the suffering of those living under occupation, and to reaffirm the commitment to the struggle for self-determination. On this day, Kashmiris around the world hold protests and demonstrations, raising their voices against Indian rule and calling for international attention to the plight of their homeland. Black Day is not just a day of mourning, it is also a day of resistance, a reminder that despite facing overwhelming odds, the spirit of the Kashmiri people remains unbroken. It is a day to reflect on the injustices faced by Kashmiris, the human rights violations, and the denial of their basic right to determine their own future.
Section 5. A Nation's Anguish. Pakistan's Solidarity with Kashmir. The plight of Kashmir resonates deeply within the hearts of the Pakistani people. Pakistan observes October 27th as Black Day in solidarity with the people of Kashmir, expressing unwavering support for their right to self-determination. Rallies and demonstrations are held across the country, with people from all walks of life participating, raising their voices against the injustices faced by Kashmiris. The Pakistani government uses this day to highlight the Kashmir issue at international forums, urging the world to acknowledge the suffering of Kashmiris and to play a proactive role in finding a peaceful and just resolution to the conflict. Pakistan's unwavering commitment to the Kashmiri cause stems from a deep-rooted sense of shared history, culture, and religion. The people of Pakistan see the struggle of Kashmiris as their own, and they remain committed to supporting their Kashmiri brothers and sisters until they achieve their rightful freedom. Section 6. Echoes of Resistance. The Struggle for Freedom. The struggle for freedom in Kashmir is as old as the occupation itself. Since that fateful day in 1947, Kashmiris have never accepted Indian rule, and their resistance has taken on various forms over the decades. From peaceful protests to armed uprisings, Kashmiris have demonstrated their unwavering commitment to their right to self-determination. The late 1980s witnessed the emergence of a full-blown armed insurgency in Indian-administered Kashmir, fueled by growing discontent with Indian rule and allegations of human rights abuses by Indian security forces. Despite facing brutal crackdowns and human rights violations, the resistance continues, a testament to the resilience and determination of the Kashmiri people. The struggle for freedom is deeply ingrained in the Kashmiri psyche, passed down from generation to generation. It is a struggle for identity, for dignity, and for the right to chart their own course.
Section 7. A World Watching, the Plea for International Intervention. The Kashmir conflict is not just a regional issue, it is an international issue with global implications. The ongoing dispute between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, coupled with the human rights situation in Indian-administered Kashmir, poses a significant threat to regional and international peace and security. The international community, particularly the United Nations, has a moral and legal obligation to play a more proactive role in resolving the Kashmir conflict. The UN Security Council resolutions calling for a plebiscite to allow the Kashmiri people to decide their own future remain unimplemented, a stark reminder of the international community's failure to address this long-standing issue. Kashmiris have consistently appealed to the international community to intervene and help find a just and lasting solution to the conflict. They argue that their voices have been ignored for too long and that it is time for the world to listen to their plight.
Section 8. Scars of Oppression, Human Rights Abuses in Kashmir. The human rights situation in Indian-administered Kashmir has been a subject of international concern for decades. Human rights organizations and international bodies have documented widespread and systematic human rights abuses committed by Indian security forces, including extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, torture, restrictions on freedom of expression and assembly. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act, a controversial law that grants sweeping powers to the Indian military, has been widely criticized for fostering a culture of impunity in the region. The lack of accountability for these abuses has only emboldened the security forces, creating a climate of fear and intimidation in the valley. The international community must hold India accountable for its human rights record in Kashmir and pressure the Indian government to repeal draconian laws like AFSPA.
Section 9. The Price of Silence, the Urgency for Action. The international community's continued silence on the Kashmir issue is deafening and unsustainable. Ignoring the plight of Kashmiris will not make the problem go away. It will only exacerbate the situation, making a peaceful resolution more elusive. The human cost of this conflict is immeasurable. Generations of Kashmiris have grown up amidst violence and uncertainty, their lives scarred by the conflict. The world cannot afford to remain silent any longer. A failure to address the root causes of the Kashmir conflict will have far-reaching consequences, not just for the region, but for the world. The international community must recognize that a just and lasting solution to the Kashmir conflict is not only a matter of human rights, but also a matter of international peace and security.
Section 10. Dialogue and Diplomacy, the Path to Peace. The only path to a lasting peace in Kashmir lies in dialogue and diplomacy. India and Pakistan must engage in meaningful and sustained dialogue to address the underlying causes of the conflict and find a solution that is acceptable to all parties involved, including the people of Kashmir. The international community can play a constructive role in facilitating this dialogue and creating a conducive environment for peace talks. A lasting solution to the Kashmir conflict must address the aspirations of the Kashmiri people. Their voices, their aspirations cannot be silenced or ignored. Any attempt to impose a solution from outside will ultimately fail. The people of Kashmir must be given a seat at the table and allowed to have a say in their own future.
Section 11. A Hope Endures, the Dream of a Free Kashmir. Despite the pain, the suffering, and the decades of uncertainty, the people of Kashmir have not given up hope. They continue to dream of a future where they are free to determine their own destiny, where their voices are heard, and where their rights are respected. The spirit of resistance that burns bright in the hearts of Kashmiris is a testament to their unwavering belief in their right to self-determination. They know that the journey to freedom is long and arduous, but they are determined to keep fighting until they achieve their goal. The dream of a free Kashmir is not just a dream for Kashmiris. It is a dream for all those who believe in justice, equality, and the right of all people to live in freedom and dignity. It is a dream that transcends borders and unites people across the globe in solidarity. And it is a dream that one day will become a reality.